First, let's start with this case. When my husband and I got married, his parents, divorced but still best friends, bought us a house as a wedding gift. I think it's relevant to say that my husband and I have been together since we were in high school, and his parents are good friends of my family. My father-in-law has been remarried since my DH was in middle school, and his new wife, let's call her Patty, brought along a daughter of Lee's age into the marriage. I'll call sister-in-law Eli for simplicity's sake. Eli has always had an involved dad and doesn't have a father-daughter relationship with father-in-law. Her dad is well-to-do, but has 5 other kids, so he's not able to be as generous as my father-in-law is with Lee, who's an only child. Eli's getting married in a month, and she came over out of the blue yesterday to rant because she found out that father-in-law isn't getting her and her fiancée Dora a house for their wedding present. Lee and I listened to her and Dora's rant, but Lee got upset and had to excuse himself after Dora started mentioning that father-in-law might be homophobic. I told them plainly that they were being ungrateful because father-in-law is covering their 2-month-long honeymoon expenses and paying for a portion of their wedding. He only did the latter for Lee and I. I also added that father-in-law and mother-in-law paid for the house together, so it wasn't all him, and that Patty didn't help whatsoever despite being Lee's stepmom. But that's not relevant, I guess. Dora and Eli both got mad at me and said I was defending a bigot and stormed out, and since then I've been asked not to come to the wedding. Patty sided with Eli and is now not on good terms with my father-in-law, who's upset and feels like his contributions aren't being appreciated. So am I in the wrong for telling my sister-in-law that she's not owed a house? Edit, forgot to add. Eli and Dora's only been together for a year and a half. They decided to get engaged spontaneously at Patty's Thanksgiving dinner. Father-in-law disapproves of Dorothea's profession. She's a stripper, but has never outwardly shown it. I wasn't sure if it was relevant to bring up their past, but based on a few comments, I think it is. Eli and Dora's relationship started when they met at Dora's job. The 1 year and a half has been a sugar mommy's baby dynamic, but Eli's expressed it's serious. Father-in-law and I are close, and he privately told Lee and I that he doesn't think they're in it for the long run. Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Eli is being rather bold with her expectations. It's pure laziness to equate father-in-law not buying them a house to him being homophobic, especially when he's already going above and beyond by paying for an extravagant honeymoon plus wedding expenses. Perhaps he should withdraw his support entirely. You're not in the wrong. You're not in the wrong. Eli and Dora are off their rockers. Sounds like father-in-law is very generous in general, and I can imagine how hurt he must feel that they are so unappreciative. It is your business because Eli included you in it. You've been uninvited, so accept that with grace and move on. You haven't done anything wrong. Nobody is owed a house. You're lucky you got one. And it was very generous of both mother-in-law and father-in-law. Patty should realize that she didn't help out with buying her stepson a house. Why would she expect her husband to buy his stepdaughter a house solo, which isn't even what he did, as he went in with the other parent, for his own son? You're not in the wrong. Lee's biological parents bought him a house. If Eli wants a house, her biological parents can buy her one, if they are able. Patty is being ridiculous. She didn't contribute to her stepson's house. Why should she expect her husband to contribute to his stepdaughters? It is lazy and manipulative for them to blame his refusal on homophobia. If I was him, it would make me want to pull any contributions I had promised. Next up, I, 45 female, am married to John, 50 male. We have 2 daughters, one together, Hannah, 25, and one from his previous relationship, Alexa, 30. Alexa is older and always got everything new, and Hannah always got the hand-me-downs. She never had much of her own things, so I wanted to make her wedding special. Both of the girls have gotten engaged. I told Hannah I would pay for her wedding. I have been saving her whole life. Alexa asked John if he and her bio mom would be paying for her wedding, and he said no. He said she should have a wedding that her and her fiancé can afford. The girls went to get lunch the other day, and Alexa found out I was paying for Hannah's wedding. Alexa called John crying that it's unfair I am paying for Hannah's wedding. John thinks we should split the money evenly between the two girls. I told him no because I was the one who had been saving the money. I told him if he'd like to pay for Alexa's wedding, then he should speak with her mother for them to see how much they could help. John asked if I would be willing to give any money that is left from Hannah's wedding to Alexa. I told him no. I was giving Hannah the whole account, and she could spend the money on what she wants. Am I in the wrong? Edit, just to answer some common questions. When I got pregnant with Hannah, John asked me to be a stay-at-home mom. During that time, John was in charge of all the finances. That is why Hannah always had hand-me-downs, because John said he wasn't going to buy her something new if we had something that worked. I started working when Hannah was 10 years old. At that time, John and I decided he would split Alexa's costs with her mother, and that we would split Hannah's costs. During that conversation, I told John that I would be making a savings account for Hannah. At the time, I said I hoped I could save enough money to pay for her wedding or a down payment on a house. Obviously not knowing how much I'd save. We didn't talk about it again because there wasn't a need to. Once I started working out, finances were separate. Alexa's mom had full custody and we had her every other weekend. During those weekends, John made all her parenting decisions. Hannah told her fiancé what had happened. Hannah's fiancé is an only child, and his parents said they would pay for half the wedding. I told Hannah the money is still hers, and she can use it for the other half, and to use the leftover money towards a house. Her and her fiancé are very grateful. I told her that tomorrow I'd go talk to someone about getting the money in a trust of some kind in her name, since right now it's in a savings account with both of our names. Let's start judging. John has realized what a shit parent he is by not providing for his child as you have for yours. Now he's trying to make it your problem. It's not. It's his and his ex's. Gave Hannah the money, and don't be an idiot to her. You are holding it against your stepdaughter that you took her old clothes for your daughter rather than buying new ones. I'd do the same thing. But what does wearing hand-me-downs have to do with a wedding? Technically, you're not in the wrong because it's your money and so forth. But that stretch of a justification makes me think that deep down, this might not be the best decision. You are certainly communicating to your stepdaughter that you don't view her as a true daughter. Again, that's your right in some sense, but she also has a right to treat you accordingly. I would. You're not in the wrong. John is making you his scapegoat for his choice, more than once, to not save money for his daughter. You told him about this when the girls were young. You discussed this when they were engaged, and both times he basically said, Alexa can deal with it herself. Only when he comes under fire is he trying to backpedal so that he doesn't take the brunt of the scrutiny by relying on the work you've done for years. What an easy way out. Constantly say multiple times he's not going to pay for his daughter's wedding and dig his heels into it. And then try and fall back on your sacrifice and nest egg to bail him out so he doesn't look bad. His ex also didn't do it. Anyone saying this will worsen your relationship with Alexa might be right, but it's really not your fault. Alexa isn't 15 or 20, where she's an adolescent adjusting to a stepmom. She's a full-grown adult at 30. And for her to put this blame on you instead of her own parents' choices is her fault. For her to blame you is misdirecting the blame when you've had this conversation with John in the past, and he's always known about it. Next up, so I, F18, have 5 little siblings, 4F, 5F, 7, and 10. I adore them to the max. My mom knows this, so it's a normal thing for her to pawn them off to me while she works because she doesn't want distractions, and I won't complain. I am basically their mother from Monday to Friday. I wake them, make them breakfast while I'm already in my class. I help the oldest 3 with school/homework. I bathe all except the 2 oldest, the whole works. This has been an everyday thing even before quarantine. Since forever, my aunt has been dropping her kids off to my mom so she can go out to party. Then I end up caring for them. My aunt has 4 kids, 10-month-old, 913F. My mom allows her to drop them off and she's gone for weeks on end. It's helpful with the 13-year-old around sometimes, but I hate putting a lot of pressure on her all the time. I've complained to my mom since October when I realized my grades were dropping, and my mom never listened. December, she started receiving calls from my school explaining I was doing poorly, and she just yelled at me to do better. The end of the semester is next week. I've been under so much stress as my aunt dropped her kids off 2 weeks ago, and has been on social media posting about partying in Vegas. I am in danger of failing 3 classes, and if I do, I'll have to do the 12th grade over again. I snapped at my mom a few hours ago and said that if my aunt didn't pick her kids up today, I will call CPS and report her. My mom immediately got angry and asked how I could be heartless and say such thing. My mom thinks I'm being insensitive to my aunt wanting her life back from time to time, and I'd never understand being a parent. Ironic. I feel like I may be idiot because I let the stress get the better of me and say that. I'd never want my aunt to lost custody, so I feel like I might be the idiot for threatening her. Am I in the wrong? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. Call CPS on your mom too, maybe. I'm so sorry you've been burdened with all this responsibility. I highly recommend talking to your teachers about this. Even if you sugarcoat it and just explain you've been swamped with more responsibility. They might be more lenient. I would be. You're not in the wrong. Parentification is a form of child abuse. It doesn't matter how much you love your siblings, you need the chance to be a child. You need time to work on school stuff and make sure you set yourself up for a good future. Talk to your teachers. Explain what's going on and ask for help. Most teachers will bend over backwards to help a student in your situation. They should also be able to find some local resources to help you address the abusive situation you're currently living in. Good luck. You're not in the wrong. The only idiots here are your aunt and your mother. Your aunt for dropping off her kids and disappearing, and your mother for sacrificing your education to force you, a high school student, to parent 9 children. Please call CPS. Your aunt should lose custody of her kids. They belong in a home with someone who will actually take care of them. And please, please, tell your mother that you are not going to repeat your senior year because she refuses to parent her own children. Lock yourself in your room, go to a place with Wi-Fi, talk to a teacher who you trust, anything, but don't sacrifice your entire future so your mother and her sister can force you into being a teen parent to their children. Someone asked for info, but I lost the comment, so I'll edit it in. My dad wants nothing to do with us. He said so himself. He left a year ago and has a new family. He blocked us on all social media and stuff, so there's no way I could even get in contact with him. Some people are saying CPS was a huge leap, and others are saying to do it. I just wanted to scare my aunt so she can come back to care for then, and I can focus the next few days on my classes and schoolwork. But if CPS is necessary, I'll do it if it's my last option. I trust my guidance counselor, and I'll talk to her about my situation. But I have the weekend plus Monday and Tuesday, and the deadline is over, so there won't be much that can be done. My school is super strict, and they won't care much about my circumstances. I'm 90% sure I'm on my own here, so I'll most likely just pull all-nighters through the weekend, plus those 2 days to get my work done. Thank you everyone for the feedback. It means a lot because I really thought I was idiot. My dad does not pay child support. I don't even know what process to go through to get him to. A lot of people have been saying to call CPS and not to wait, but the thing is, I'm terrified. I understand chances are they won't be taken away because they're in a safe environment and taken care of, but I couldn't forgive myself if they were taken away for good. My mom is sleeping right now, so I'm going to pack my bag and take the last 3 days I have and spend the night with my friend because she offered to help me, and her parents are fine with it. I honestly did not expect any response, but I'm so grateful for you all. If I hadn't posted about this, I wouldn't have ever known what parentification was. Sure, my mom is going to be angry with me for leaving, but I'll deal with that next Wednesday. I've contacted my guidance counselor as she's the only trusted adult I have, and she completely understood, and she said on Monday she'll give me a list of options I can make to make sure I pass the 12th grade and can maintain my grades in the next semester. I've told my brothers, the 7 and 10-year-old, and my cousins, the 9 and 13-year-old, that I won't be here tomorrow and to when they wake up, to tell my mom I'm not here just so she's aware. Thank you guys for everything. Next up, I, 28F, have been babysitting my sister's 33 kids, ages 4, 7, and 9, for years whenever she needs a break or has work commitments. I love my nieces and nephew, and I understand parenting is tough, but it's getting to a point where I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. At first, it was occasional, but now it's almost every weekend, and sometimes even during the week when they're sick and can't go to school. I work a full-time job, and my weekends are my only free time to relax or catch up on personal things. My sister, however, assumes I'm always available, often texting me last minute to drop them off for a few hours, that turn into entire days. Recently, I told her that I'd be happy to continue babysitting, but I'd like to be compensated, even if it's just a little bit to cover my time. She got really upset and said, "Family shouldn't charge family," and accused me of being selfish because I don't have kids and don't understand what it's like. I feel guilty because I know she's a single mom and struggling, but at the same time, I feel like my kindness is being taken for granted. Our parents think I should just help out because that's what sisters do, but I'm starting to feel resentful. Am I in the wrong for asking to be paid for babysitting? Let's start judging. You're not in the wrong. I have a feeling it's not actually about the payment, but lack of respect for your time, though. I would convey that to your sister, giving her the benefit of the doubt that she doesn't realize how it impacts you. But no matter what you do, you're not the A. If your parents have a problem, they can babysit or pay for the babysitter. I would just not babysit for her anymore. You are entitled to your free time. She decided to have children, not you. They are her responsibility. Why aren't your parents, their grandparents, watching them? Since family helps family, they need to step up. You're not in the wrong. You're not in the wrong. It is not your fault nor your problem that your sister is a single mother. Perhaps if she hadn't abused your feelings and compassion, you wouldn't be in the position of feeling taken advantage of and it wouldn't have reached this point. But what she's done is abusive, misleading you by saying a few hours and then being gone all day. If she had to pay someone for the time she takes from them, she'd be more mindful of what she's doing. Until she has to sacrifice something for what she wants, it holds no value to her, and to her, your time has no value. Stand your ground and stop letting yourself be taken advantage of. I have 2 sisters with children, and they both did this kind of thing with me, our other sister, and other family members, to the point that no one keeps any of their kids anymore, because it always turns into so much more than they ask for, and we've all gotten burned out on it. My youngest sister has 5 children and legitimately needs help, but I am very careful of offering or saying yes now because far too often a few hours turned into whole days. So I know exactly what you're feeling. It's hard to put your foot down and draw a boundary that changes the dynamic, but she's not being fair to you, and that's not okay.